The chairman of the full committee, Chairwoman Dr. Foxx, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I want to thank our panelists for being here today. We appreciate your making the time to come. Ms. Stickland, I'm sorry to hear about what happened to your family with the DRT. We've had a whole hearing on that issue, as you may know. But it unfortunately highlights concerns parents have about the collection of valuable information of students. When you hear accomplished researchers like Dr. Whitehurst talk about how they protect the data they get so there's not as great a risk with sharing that data, does that give you peace of mind about sharing student data?
Thank you for the question. I thought parents aren't opposed to research or evidence used in making decisions for education. But I think what the FAFSA situation did reveal is that no data is completely safe. When it's linked to other agency data, it becomes especially vulnerable, and that linkage is a disclosure. So while we understand and appreciate that researchers are very cautious with data and there are measures to take to try and de-identify data and keep it confidential, it still poses a very significant risk.
Thank you. Dr. Schwartz, you've heard what Ms. Stickland has said about the breaches. What more do you believe your state could do to limit the data collected in the first place? And of the data collected, is there more the state could do to limit what is shared with outside entities without compromising meaningful feedback on school and program effectiveness? And I think that the example given about helping students complete school and working within the school is a great example, but there was no need for that information to be shared with anybody else for the school to make the work with those students, it seems to me. But please respond.
Thank you. It is critical that we protect student privacy while also conducting research. And I think that we in our state have spent a lot of time thinking about how we can have these two things live together within our state. So we have a number of state laws on the books that require us to make public and transparent every data element that gets collected at the state level, and to make public the ways that this data is being used for research purposes. So this isn't something being done behind closed doors. This is something that we want to disclose and make very clear what we're doing and why we're doing it. Because as Ms. Strickland points out, I think there are clear benefits to doing this right. I would also argue that there are clear benefits to, at times, linking data across agencies. So our strategic plan in Tennessee asks us to think about where students go beyond high school. For many years, the goal of bringing students to, of having students pass their K-12 education system was high school graduation. But that's not enough. And one of the things we've been able to look at by linking data is to understand, so what happens to students who leave our high schools with only a high school degree and enter the workforce in Tennessee? The answer is that they are annually making a salary of somewhere around $10,000. We couldn't answer those questions without linking data. What I think we need are the secure systems for when that data is linked, being absolutely sure that that data is completely secure and ensures student privacy. And I entirely agree with Ms. Stickland's points about revamping some of our laws to make sure that that is the case.
Dr. Whitehurst, you talk about the need for IES to support quick turnaround reports on high-impact policy issues. But is the problem the lack of quick turnaround capability, or is the problem a lack of truly relevant research within existing research projects? Why would we need a quick turnaround study on a federal program that might be impacted by a budget proposal? Would not that program have been evaluated already?
Well, in some cases, programs have been, or components of programs have been evaluated already, but nobody's in a position through federal funding now to synthesize that research, gather it together, and make reasonable conclusions about what we know going forward. On federal work study, for example, there is a body of research on it. It's spread over a number of years, a number of research teams, a number of universities. Somebody has to be responsible for gathering that together, drawing conclusions that are objective, not pushed by a political point of view, and that can be expected to do that in a trustworthy fashion. I think IES has a role in doing that. It's not currently fulfilling that role because there's no budget or particular authority to do so.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.